Hey everybody, Paymarine here with I guess kind of an out of the box and in the crosshairs. I'm going to be doing a review of the new Thunderhawk model from Forge World. It's going to be a little bit different than other reviews. I'm not going to go too in depth because there's plenty of videos out there where people do like kind of unboxing and building and kind of comparisons between the old Thunderhawk and the new Thunderhawk. But I'm just going to kind of go over a quick kind of features and things I like about it and some kind of dimensions like length, width, how much it weighs, all that. And then I want to dive into the rules and kind of go more into that. So here it is, though. It's an awesome model. This was definitely one that's been on my wish list forever. And the redesign is just super awesome. So yeah, I guess some quick features here. I mean, it has like this here, it opens up and has a, let's see here if I can get this lined up somewhat. I don't know. Has a decent interior in there. Obviously, I've completely assembled it, so there's no way I'm gonna like actually paint the interior. I am gonna kind of just throw like a lead belcher spray in there and kind of do a quick shade just so there's something. And I'm still toying with the idea of putting in some mini LED lights, a red and a green one, to kind of have like a jump door or jump light kind of thing kind of going. So like I still don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm either going to try to put a switch in so I can switch between the colors, or like ideally what I would like to do is like you could have it always on, and when you close the door, it could automatically turn it red, and there's these little kind of hole ladder wells up here on the sides where like the pilot and crew, I guess, can go up and down through um, the control cabin. Um, and then it would kind of shine up through there. But I still haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do all that, or if I'm even going to be able to. Um, but anyway, but yeah, I mean, obviously this thing is a beast. It's huge. So just quick measure it from length, from the all the way from this back engine to the forwardmost point on the nose is about 19 inches. And then on the wingspan here, it's about 17 inches coming across. And then height-wise, when it's just sitting on the ground, now I didn't put the landing struts to be extended. I put them up so it's in flight configuration, but it still sits because the way this here is, this back tail piece, and the front here line up good. It sits just fine like that on the ground. And so in this configuration with the landing struts up, it's 7.5 feet tall to this point from the ground that it's sitting on. And then I jumped on the scale without the model, and then I jumped on the scale with the model, and it increased my overall weight, which I won't mention, but it increased my overall weight by 5 pounds, or I think that's, I don't even know, 2.3 kilos, I think I got kilograms. But yeah, so it's 5 pounds, and I mean, it's a hefty one. And then the center balance point of it is kind of in the back here, and I'll actually grab my soon-to-be flight stand I'm working on still. So this does not come with a flight stand. I don't believe any of the Forge World like super large flying kits come with a flight stand. I think it's just more of kind of a liability thing. They don't want to sell something this big and this heavy with a flight stand, and then if we're to fall and break, and then you try to claim like, well, then why didn't you design this to better be able to do that? So I ordered a clear acrylic. It's a 12-inch rod off of like Amazon. It actually ordered, there's like a magnet, Thunderhawk magnet set from the Magnet Baron. It has some pretty strong magnets. They're rated to, I guess, hold this thing. And it comes with an acrylic flight stand, but it's only like 3 inches. I'm not really sure why. It might be kind of the same thing, like you didn't want to sell the stand, or you could potentially try to hold them liable or something. I don't know. But yeah, so I got myself, like I said, a 12-inch acrylic. So my plan with this anyway is I'm going to make a base. I have a magnet on this end so that way I can disassemble it. But I'll have a base, and I'm going to put like kind of some terrain or something, and then drill a hole down the middle. So this will kind of like sink in a little bit. So like maybe it'll be in that far as it'll be kind of built up a little bit. I'm not quite sure how deep into there it will go because I already have like kind of a wooden plaque kind of base that I'll be using, which I'll be drilling into, which will probably take it at least to there, and then I'll just need to build terrain up a little bit more. I'm not sure how much, but anyway, so hopefully that'll kind of keep things a little sturdier. And then plus with the magnet, sinking that in there, it'll make it easier. I can take the base and this off for easier transport. Yeah, and then I'll have the magnet on the bottom of this. So to kind of show you, and I'm going to be very careful with this, to show you kind of the center balance point, but make sure, because I got the magnet, it's kind of slippery. But yeah, so this is the center. If I can get it straight up and down, you can see it. So that's the center balance point of it. I could go a little bit back where it's a little bit flatter, but then I kind of have to tilt back, and you can see it starts to tilt. But yeah, so this is right here is about the center. Now you can kind of see it kind of starts to tilt up, and that's probably more because of the way my assembly. I don't know how flush this is supposed to be. I mean, it's not super flush, and I don't think it's meant to be. But because of this little kind of lip there, when you put it there, it kind of, as you saw, kind of is up at an angle, which isn't too bad. It can kind of look like it's kind of like taking off or something as it's flying around. I had thought about maybe trying to cut this kind of dowel thing at like an angle to kind of give it kind of like a banking appearance or something as it's flying, but then I was just like, I feel like that's, let's see if I turn this little fan on, playing with fire or whatever you want to say a little bit too much and potentially going to cause a potential failure where this thing could come sliding off. So yeah, just don't even want to attempt to cause that issue. I'm also thought about just trying to maybe drill and put like a bolt there as well, just to make it a little bit more sturdier. Just very nervous about just relying on magnets. Yeah, not sure yet how exactly I'll go with that. And then the next thing I'll talk about is like these attack wing things are cool, but this one, again, I don't think, maybe I didn't assemble the component over here right, so this one doesn't really like to stay up on its own. I honestly never really liked this kind of configuration of it. It's just too X-Wing-ish for me. I mean, I think it looks just fine like this, honestly. But anyway. And then the last thing I'll show you real quick before we dive into kind of the rules is the cockpit area. This was pretty easy just to get a hairdryer and kind of form because it didn't fit super snug. It still doesn't fit the best. But I mean, it's pretty snug, and I wanted to keep it in a way, because every time I do, like, I reshape it, it seems like it then like later shrinks or reshapes in some way, so then there's still more new gaps. And the more and more I heat it, it seems like it's getting more and more kind of discolored. It's not getting cloudy in the actual window parts, and then this other part here where I'll actually end up painting it is kind of turning a yellow color, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, just a quick shot of inside the cockpit area here. As you can see, there's a little bit of difference there with those pilots. They've got plastic gray bodies, but that and heads. And that's because I went ahead and did a little quick swap conversion, because since this is going to be joining my all Primaris army, I wanted them to at least have some Primaris pilots in there. So yeah, so I kind of changed up the bodies here for like the pilot, co-pilot, gunner kind of thing. Ideally I would have had both the bodies with like the repulsor gunner tech marine body, but I didn't have another one, and I can't find any on eBay. Nobody in the local area seems to have them. And then with everything going on right now, with everybody like isolating at home, it's really hard to kind of get in contact with some. So I was like, well, I guess the co-pilot gunner will just kind of have like a regular body, but I mean, it's kind of whatever. He's still technically a tech marine of some kind. And then for helmets, I've been using the Salamander Sergeant heads in the Salamander upgrade sprue, taking the flame off and using those as kind of tech marine pilot heads. And then for the tech marine gunner co-pilot, use the Iron Hand Sergeant helmet, which I thought looked pretty cool for them. But yeah, so that's the interior there and everything. So, but overall, yeah, like it was actually a pretty easy build, surprisingly. It's a very intimidating model, but definitely it went together pretty well. I didn't have to pull the hairdryer out too much and stuff like that. And then different seams and connections are hidden very well with different things they've added, like this kind of laser energy battery up here. It kind of hides a seam. These wings come in and hide a seam. The heavy bolters up here come in, do the same. But yeah, and then you have the Hellstrike missiles and these heavy bolters on the side. Now these here I've actually magnetized so they can still spin and everything, which just whatever, playability, I guess. But yeah, so there's the model. It's an awesome model. Very happy. Like I said, I bought this. It's at least been at least a year, if not more. And I got it, threw it in some soapy water and soaked it for a while, and scrubbed it, got all the parts nice scrubbed, and put it in a box with the whole intention of, okay, I'm going to get to this, life project, so everything's kind of take priority, and so it kind of just sat, and then also just kind of the intimidation factor of putting this thing together. But then with everything going on, I decided, like, at least let me knock out my building backlog I've got, and this was, pretty sure it's my absolute last of the things I have on my building backlog. At least for 40K, I still have an escape pod and some Phase 2 clones for Legion, and then some other kind of side projects for the Legion. But 40K, this is for the most part my last, needs to be built thing. Anything else I have is just kind of just kits and kit bashing, messing around stuff, but nothing actually, unit-wise, so. Like I said, this is one of the few, I think it's actually maybe the only Space Marine, of the old models, that can carry Primaris. And we'll get to the rules here in a second, but it does state in those rules that if you carry Primaris, you can't carry other Marines, and vice versa. If you carry other Marines, you can't carry Primaris, so you can't mix and match with it. Which, is okay in my opinion, because like I said, I'm building an all-Primaris army, and it's nice to have another cool, super awesome vehicle to go in our arsenal. And then, we'll jump into the rules then, so I don't get 2 minutes. Let me set this down. Alright, so I got the Imperial Armor here. Now this is the current one, which is, I don't know when now, but it's soon to be not current, because they released, what was it at? I think it was at Nova, just last year. They announced they were going to be reviewing these indexes, so they were going to be soon to be obsolete. But as of right now, this is everything current. So we'll go over kind of the basic points costs. We'll go over the basic data sheet and then the points cost of everything. Let me just make sure I got the right pages here. So we got the Thunderhawk Assault Gunship. It's got a weapon skill of 6+, which is kind of okay. We know that it's being a vehicle, it's going to be 6+, for the most part. Strength 10, Toughness 9, has 30 wounds, Leadership 9, and a 3+ save. And then their damage chart, 24 to 30, it's going to have a 20-inch to 50-inch movement. So the minimum movement on this is always going to be 20-inch unless you drop down into that hover mode. So minimum is going to be 20 up to 50-inch movement. Ballistic skill is 2+, and then it has 8 attacks. 15 to 23, you lose 10 inches on your movement. You get a 3+ ballistic skill and 4 attacks. 8 to 14, you lose another 10 inches, so now you're down to 20 to 30 with a 4+ ballistic and 3 attacks. And then 1 to 7 remaining, you're at 20 inches with 5+ and a 2. Then Thunderhawk Gunship is a single model equipped with a Thunderhawk heavy cannon, 4 twin heavy bolters, and 2 las cannons. And then it says down here in the options, you can replace the Thunderhawk heavy cannon with a turbo laser destructor, and the model may take Hellstrike missile battery. If the option is chosen, then the Thunderhawk Assault Gunship loses the Thunderhawk cluster bombs ability. So we'll go over each one of those in a second. So of course, twin heavy bolters, standard heavy bolters. The Hellstrike battery is a 72-inch range, heavy 4, strength 8, -3, excuse me, -3 AP, and damage 3. And then we'll go over it real quick. So the Hellstrike missile battery is 60 points, if you want to take that. And base for the Thunderhawk right now is 650. So 650 points for just the Thunderhawk gunship. And then if you want to take the Hellstrike, you're going to add 60 to that, right? So we're up to 710. And then you have the las cannons, which is regular for las cannons. Then you have the Thunderhawk heavy cannon. Now this is the standard one it comes with. It has a 48-inch range. It's a heavy 2d6, strength 8, -2 with a d6 damage. Now the Turbo Laser Destructor, which this is going to be fun to read, which this is something I hope doesn't change, but it might. But the Turbo Laser Destructor costs 0 points, so it's a free swap out. Like, you pay nothing for it. So like I said, I don't know in the new index when that comes out, whenever that's going to come out, if that's going to change. I hope not, because as of right now, with the Hellstrike battery, the Thunderhawk is 710 points, which I believe is either on par or cheaper than the Astraeus heavy tank. And I think you get a lot more bang for your buck than you do with the Astraeus. And that's because you get like a transport capability, and like I said, you kind of get all this other stuff too. But yeah, so the Turbo Laser Destructor is a 96-inch range. I mean, with a minimum 20-inch movement, you're hitting the whole board, unless you're playing an Apocalypse style game, and that's kind of what these are made for. It is a Lord of War. Well, I say Lord of War. It's I guess keywords are Titanic, Vehicle, Transport, Fly, Thunderhawk, Assault, Gunship. It just has like that. To me, the fist symbol up here is a Lord of War choice, but I guess that's also technically Titanic. Anyway. But yeah, so it's 96-inch range. It's a heavy D3 shots. So good rolling, you'd get 9 shots out of it. Strength 16 with a -4 AP. Damage 2d6. On top of that, though, any wound roll of a 6 made with this attack automatically inflicts an additional D3 mortal wounds. So 6s aren't just like another wound, like the snipers and stuff. It's D3 mortal wounds. So there's a lot of decent damage output coming there. Yeah. So each one of those, yeah, it's definitely gonna delete something off the table. But you know, again, I guess if you don't roll well and somebody has some kind of crazy invuln or shield drone or something, but that's, I guess, you know, you want to soften things up that might have something like that. Invuls are one thing you can't really soften up, and if they just make enough, but if you were to get max shots on it, 9 shots, and you know they should all wound for the most part. I mean, you may roll 1 here and there, but I mean, we'll say 7 might go through with 2d6 damage. I don't know. I think might be all right still, even if they invul save a decent amount of them. All right. So to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. You take the Turbo Laser Destructor, and there's no real reason that I see as of right now why you would just take the heavy cannon versus the Turbo Laser Destructor. I guess yes, you get the chance of getting more shots, but it's only, I mean, it's strength 8, so anything that's also strength 8, you're only wounding on 4s. At least with the other one was 16. Pretty much everything in the game, unless it's a Titanic as well, is going to be highest toughness 8. So you're wounding on 2s because you're double at 16. And with a -4, and while in Devastator Doctrine, you're at -5. Yeah, so I don't know why you wouldn't for 0 points. But for the transport, the gunship can transport 30 chapter infantry models. Each jump pack or Terminator model takes up the space of 2 other infantry models, and each Centurion takes up the space of 3 other infantry. It can also transport chapter biker models, and who take up the space of 3 infantry models. It cannot transport Primaris models if it carries any other type of models. If only Primaris models are being transported, it can transport up to 15 chapter Primaris infantry models. It doesn't state in here that like aggressors or whatever take up more than 2 spots, but I think that might be underneath their on their individual cards. I'm not sure. I'd have to look. I'm just thinking about that now. I don't know if I have. Let me check. Hell Blaster, Intercessor. Here we go, aggressors. No, it's not on there, so, oops, I just lost my page on that. So I'm going to check out the repulsor and see if how this delineates. So it's nice having these kind of here for quick reference. Okay, so this model can transport 10 chapter Primaris infantry models. Each Mark 10 Gravis model takes up the space of 2 other models. It cannot transport jump pack models. So maybe that'll be a change that they'll make in the new index to clarify. Because right now it just says 15 Primaris infantry. It doesn't specify one that it can't take jump pack. Because I mean it can take assault marine, so that'd be interesting if this thing could take inceptors as well. But then it also doesn't say anything about the Gravis armor or anything taking up more than 1 space. So on that aspect of it, it's kind of like, I don't know, 15 isn't that great. And you think about like the repulsor can carry 10 Primaris in it, and then this is only carrying 5 more, but it's a huge gunship. But you know, I don't know. That's what it says. So other rules it has: abilities, airborne. This model cannot charge. Can only be charged by units that can fly, and can only attack or be attacked in the fight phase by units that can fly. So this one actually says you cannot charge. So you can obviously fight back if you are charged by anything with fly, but this model itself cannot charge. It is a colossal flyer, so when targeting this unit, the shooting attack and psychic powers always measure from the model's hull, where it would be at the tabletop level, even if it is on a flying base. In addition, unless attacking unit has the fly keyword, add 12 inches to the measured distance to determine the range when making shooting attacks against the Thunderhawk gunship. Note, this means many short-range shooting weapons will not be able to hit this model. Your opponent must also subtract 1 to hit rolls for attacks that target this model in shooting phase. So that's pretty cool. So basically, it's a -1 to hit. But then also you have to add 12 to your range. So the idea is it's so high up that you have to also add 12 inches to your range. So essentially you're only ever going to be able to shoot at it if you're like regular Space Marines 24-inch range, but you're going to have to be at 12-inch range in order to hit it. And then you're still at your max range, so you're not going to be able to do your bolt, your discipline, your double tap, any of that, because you're already adding your 12. So effectively, that's, you know, no flamers. You're not going to be flaming this thing down or anything like that. I guess assault marines, because they have jump packs, they have the fly keyword, so I guess they could throw, because they can take 2 flamers in a 5-man squad. You could try to do it that way, but again, I mean, this thing T9 with a strength 4 flamer and no AP. If you take a ton of assault marines, I mean, there's better things that they could shoot it at with, like a melted. Can I take a melt again? I think I can only take a combi melt on the sergeant. So anyway, yeah. So effectively, this means also, like I said, like your half range is never going to come to effect. You're always going to be at your max range trying to hit this thing. So that's kind of cool. So you're really never going to get like your rapid fire shots or anything like that. Supersonic, each time it moves, this is kind of just a regular, you can move up to 90 degrees, and then you have to move 20 inch until the end of phase, or up to 20 inch move. Note it cannot pivot again after the initial pivot, And when you advance, you increase the model character by 20. So if you want to advance, it's just an extra 20. You don't roll for it. No, do not roll dice. Void Hardened Hull. The Thunderhawk Assault Gunship has a 5-up invuln. Crash and Burn. If this model is reduced to 0, roll a d6 before removing the model from the battlefield, and before any embarked models disembark. On a 6, it crashes and explodes. Each unit within 6 suffers 2d6 mortal wounds. So 2d6 is pretty severe. I don't agree with the 6-inch though. I think it should be a little bit bigger because it is such a big model. I'd be okay with it at, I don't know, 8, 10-inch. Honestly, I would think a 10-inch suffers 2d6 would be pretty sufficient. I mean, it's such a huge model. It's like that. I mean, it's coming down, it's crashing. I don't know. So to me, I think they're being a little bit nice with a 6-inch. But then it has hover jet, so this is where you can drop down into hover mode. So before this model moves, your movement phase, you declare it will hover. Its move characteristic becomes 20. Until the end of the phase, it loses airborne, colossal flyer, and supersonic abilities. And power of the machine spirit. This model does not suffer the penalty to hit for moving and firing heavy weapons, which is nice because it's a flyer, so you're always going to be moving, and everything on it is a heavy weapon. Now the Thunderhawk cluster bomb. So this is where you can swap out these and take the Hellstrike battery. So again, the Hellstrike battery was a 60-point upgrade, which is 72 inches, heavy 4, strength 8, -3, and 3 damage, which I think is pretty decent. I also, when I first saw those missiles, I thought it was like the, I can't remember the other missiles, but there's other things that have like, what is it, the Tiger Shark I think has it, and maybe they've changed on that as well, but like the one-use, like one-shot missiles, and there's 6 of them on this, so I'm like, okay, well there's 6 missiles, and these might be like a one-shot deal each, but it literally just says it's a heavy 4, and it's not like an exhaustible thing. It's so you always have, they replenish. Or you can get, for not taking that and just keeping it at its base cost of 650 points, you can get Thunderhawk cluster bombs once per battle. A Thunderhawk gunship with this ability can make a bombing run against a single enemy unit is moved over in one of its movement phases. After the Thunderhawk gunship has moved, pick an enemy unit that it flew over. Roll 3d6 for every vehicle or monster, or a d6 for every model up to the maximum of 12d6. For each roll of a 5, the unit suffers a mortal wound. Units consisting of only characters may not be targeted by this ability. So I can see having this or keeping this one if you're like kind of crunching for points and you really want to bring the Thunderhawk, because then you're bringing it in at 650 with lots of firepower. But I mean, this is a once per battle rule, these cluster bombs, and I mean they're not. It's okay, but you really got to be able to set it up just right. You got to kind of have the units that you can fly over decently, and then at the same time, like at least for if it's a vehicle or a monster, you're rolling 3d6. So you roll 3d6, and however many that is, you get to roll those, and for every 5+, you get a mortal wound, and then you just get or a d6 for every other model up to a maximum of 12. So a unit of like 10 intercessors, I guess the way I'm reading this is for every other model. So if there's a squad of 10 intercessors or whatever it is, you get to roll 10d6. If there's a mass amount of orcs that are, I don't know, 30 or however many they can go pretty big, the most you're going to be able to roll at that point then is going to be 12. So it's still, I mean, it's still a large amount of dice, but then again, it's only on a 5+ they get a mortal wound. I mean, especially with a big, huge orc mob, like you're not going to be deleting them off the table with this. And again, like I said, it's a once per battle thing. I'd rather have the consistent Hellstrike battery. It's got good range. It's heavy. I mean, it's strength 8, -3 with a 3 flat damage. That's pretty good. But like I said, if you're crunched for points, I can see leaving the Hellstrike battery at home and just taking the cluster bombs. Cause that's 60 points saved. But overall, like that's not a bad point cost, really. 650 base, and then throw some Hellstrikes on there for 710. I think overall pretty decent. So I'm interested though to see what changes they make in the new index. Like I said, they've only announced that they're going to be doing that, but they haven't put out a timeline. And then with everything else going on right now in the world and delays, and I mean, who knows if we'll see this probably by the end of 2020, maybe, maybe sooner. I'm not sure. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on Thunderhawk? Is it a viable option other than apocalypse games or super large point games? At what point cost do you think it's a viable option? Like minimum 2,000 points and up, or 1750 maybe? Um, 1750. I mean, it's taking up a third of your army right there if you bring the Hellstrike missiles, and even if you don't, I mean, it's still almost a third. Um, So I mean that's a pretty decent chunk there. So um, yeah, well yeah, even without it, yeah. Either way, it is a third, right? I don't know. I don't do math very well. So um, yeah. Either way, it's a big chunk. Um, but yeah, so I guess, and then what do you think? Any changes that they might make? I don't. I really hope that we don't see much more than just maybe some clarification of um, just like the Primaris models, like what Gravis armor is 2 spots, and then yeah, I'm kind of thinking too. Part of the index update might be due to the new Primaris stuff that may be coming out, because there's the rumors of those Outriders coming out, so maybe they're going to be able to take Outrider bikes as well. I'm just looking next door here to the Thunderhawk Transporter, which is also it's a model that is no longer available on Forge World. But it also says that it specifically states it may not transport Primaris models. So, but this one was one that always took vehicles and stuff. But yeah, most everything that, yeah, the Assault Ram, it cannot transport Jump, Centurion, or Primaris models. I don't really see much of that changing. The Storm Eagle cannot. What's that big one? The other big one. That was the one I wanted to check out. Because, yeah, the Stormbird. I wanted to see if this one can take Primaris or not. No, it doesn't say. It doesn't say that it can, or it doesn't say it can't. It just says the SOCAR pattern Stormbird can transport 50 infantry models. Each jump pack or Terminator model takes the space of 2 or more infantry models, and each Centurion takes the space of 3 other infantry models. They can also transport chapter bikes and up to, who make up the place of 3 infantry models. The SOCAR pattern may also transport a single Rhino, including its own transported models. Wow. Occupying 25 models worth of space. Interesting. So a Rhino full with Space Marines takes up 25, so half your transport capacity, which a Rhino, I guess, can take 10. So it's 15, or I guess 10, and then they're saying the Rhino itself is worth 15. And when disembarking, the Rhino may only exit via the rear of the SOCAR pattern Stormbird. But it doesn't say anything about Primaris, so maybe this is something they're going to change. Kind of hope not, because that's just going to tempt me to buy a Stormbird, which is like $1,000-something. It's a cool looking model for sure, but I don't know. Maybe, I mean, if it can take Primaris, and if like instead of a Rhino, it's like you can take the Impulsor inside of it, then I could be like, oh man, very tempting. But yeah, it doesn't say. So the only thing Primaris wise still is just the Thunderhawk assault gunship inside here. So but yeah, alright, well, I guess I'll call this one done. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Definitely let me know what you think. Like I said, kind of like what point cost is this a viable thing other than friendly games or apocalypse sized games. And then what changes do you think might come to the Thunderhawk or even any of the others in the index here? Um, so I'm very curious what everyone has to think about that. So hopefully I'll get around to painting it soon. It's definitely in the back of my queue of painting. I got some other things I kind of prioritize that I need to get done that are going to be, I guess, played sooner in games than the Thunderhawk, unfortunately. This definitely is going to be one that I want to take some time on and make it look very cool for my star commanders and everything. So with all that being said, I'll just say check out the Facebook page and the link below. And then also check out the rest of the YouTube channel and see what I got going on here. I got all kinds of different videos, and I always like to point out that unfortunately I can't be as consistent as I'd like to be in my videos. Just my daytime job really keeps me pretty busy, and my schedule can be very sporadic at times. So I try to upload as best I can. Just my most consistent thing is probably my status report, where I try to do that at least once a month near the end of the month, just giving us a basic idea of what's been going on and what I'm up to. So, but with all that, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time.